there was a Steam Events complete in box auction that just ended on January 10th. It went for $30,100. It also included a Family Fun Fitness pad, complete, missing the manual, but also includes the original Athletic World, which was the packing game with no manual. Same manual, Pat. It wasn't a special manual, I don't think, for it. Anyway, there's no manual. I got the manual of mine. Anyway, so this went for $30,000. We'll just say the other stuff probably based upon past sales and everything. I don't know, $1,000. It was probably just an extra. We'll just say Steam Events went for $30,000. Maybe slightly less, though, if you don't count. Most people were not bidding on the other items included. They're the Athletic World Complete in Box Evil, and that's arguably the second rarest title to get in the box besides Steam Events. And the Family Fun Fitness pad, which usually doesn't go for that much in the box, even though it should. So, am I surprised about this? Yes and no. I'm surprised because we are in a situation now when it comes to these games where I really think we're seeing the absolute height of prices for these games. So, if you're a collector out there that doesn't have a Steam Events, then yeah, you're going to pay whatever. You're going to pay through the nose to get it. But we're also in a climate where we now know that besides this copy and any others that are out there, we now know there's at least 18 sealed Steam Event copies that were revealed last year via my pal and your pal out there, Tim Atwood. And that he has 6 remaining that he has not sold nor given away yet. And I'm not saying that the CU podcast has a huge amount of pull out there in the vast nether regions of the internet. Nether regions, what? But what I'm saying is that if you follow this stuff at all, you know about Tim Atwood and you know about those 6 Steam Events that he still has in his possession that are sealed new. So with all that said, that's why I'm surprised this went for this much amount of money. Like, if you're patient, you'll be able to get a Steam Events, box Steam Events. I'm not saying you're going to get one in a year or two, but they're going to come out. Maybe not Tim Atwood's copies anytime soon, but those eventually will get out. They're not going to be forever, just sitting around. But other copies are out there. That's why I think at this point it's becoming a waiting game where who's going to give in to their willpower first? The people that are still holding on to these high-end titles, that some of them have owned multiple copies of, or the person that thinks they're desperate enough that I got to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get a video game. Of course, though, if you're spending $30,000, it's probable that you have that expendable income that you can afford it, even though there are people out there that make really stupid decisions, which I'll get into in a minute. So the condition of this box game, it's not even the best condition one. It's obviously not a sealed one. I think they described it as a box is, they said 4 out of 5. Taking a quick look at it, I mean, there's one of the problems is we don't have it's definitely not a 4 out of 5. It's definitely not that. It's not an 8 out of 10 when looking at it. There's scuff marks on the left side. There's damage on the right side of the box. The corners are all damaged. I would be generous in saying it a 3 out of 5. So then again, you got to pump up the value of the item. One of the problems is we don't have a nice unified grading system the way they do for comic books to grade the condition of cartridges, manuals, or boxes. Maybe that'll be my thing I do in my 40s if I'm bored. Is that I'm going to come up with or hire a team to come up with a unified set of rules the same way that the comics grading people have. So that there's really not much discussion between what's a 7 out of 10 comic book versus an 8 or 8.5. Yes, we have that for fucking cellophane grading, which still doesn't make any sense to me. Whichever. It's sold. It's sold for $30,000, which is still a lot of money. I don't think there's been an open auction for a Steam Events complete in box open auction for a while now. I want to say at least a year or two. So that's important as well. We don't know, obviously, all the private sales. With private sales can go for more, but then again, private sales is a whole nother beast. Because the private sales means it's not open to the whole world. It's really just a cat and mouse game between the seller and the buyer. There's so many other factors go into it. So it's really hard to gauge a value of items through private sales you never find out about. Especially if they go for a lot more. You never find out about it, or you hear stuff years and years later. It's like, who the fuck knows how to gauge the price. So, will we see other Steam Events games go for $30,000? I don't know. I mean, I've been saying for Ian as well, for at least a year, that we think this is going to start trickling back down, or at least we've seen the sort of end of the push upwards. And remember, this also could have got buoyed a little bit by that Steam Events article on ESPN.com about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, where yours truly was quoted on. So we've got some factors going on here. But I do know that, and this is not just me, this comes from Ian, this comes from big-time collectors I talked to in Europe, Pat's International, that many people either see a bubble forming, or they see just collectors with large collections start to sell out and get out. I've seen it myself. I've seen it with a YouTuber saying, I'm going to sell out my collection. Please don't say anything because I don't want the value. And I don't want the values to go down, and I don't want people to be scared because they think that lots of people are selling out. It's not a secret, though. I mean, in the collector circle, it's not hard. It's hard to keep this shit a secret, because you know who the bigger collectors are usually. You know what's out there. And when you start seeing all the high-ticket items start being sold, or chunks more than what they used to even a couple years ago, you know that something's going on. So, I mean, from my friend in Europe, he says, yeah, I've seen this happening now for a couple years, where people are starting to sell this stuff out. And it's usually what I said and what Ian said, is that it's usually these collectors that get into it later than the previous generation of collectors, or 2 generations. They get in quickly, and then they sell out, because, again, it's when you see thousands of dollars leave your bank account within a year or two, that's a lot different than thousands of dollars leaving it over 15 years, over 10 years, even over 5, 6, 7 years. And people are like, what the hell's going on? Or maybe they got a family, they got a girlfriend that wants all this shit out of here. Not that I've heard that. Maybe they want to move into a place, not drag all the crap with them. Maybe it's a smaller place they're moving into. Maybe they just need more cash. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they want to get that breast augmentation. I could use one. Anyway, something's going on here, though. And that's why I'm surprised by this, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. I just said absolutely nothing, by the way. But I'll be surprised if we see another one of these come up at open auction and go for this amount of money, especially in this condition. This could be one of these, this could be one of those impulse buys by someone who's not really a game collector, that just knows the name of this from the ESPN article and figures, oh, this is going to be worth a ton of money as an investment. God, I hate saying that, especially with a piece of crap like Steam Events. As an investment, man, that really is not a 4 out of 5 box. I'm looking at it, there's like sticker marks on it on the top. I mean, I'm on eBay. You can blow up the picture. 4 out of 5. In what world is that a 4 out of 5? I know you got to pump up your item for sale, but holy shit, dude. Some ethics here. Anyway, so we'll see. We'll see if it was an impulse buy by an investor, or someone that said, hey, I wanted this game for years, or I'm trying to complete my collection eventually even I'm completing box, so I know I need to get the hardest one out of the way now. And that's all I got to say. This has been your designated Steam Events topic for this CU podcast.